Today, we're on to the topic of scale. This is a really interesting topic, as I'm sure a lot of us, in one way or another, have dived into marketing or scaling our own practice. This is something that we focus on in our way of thinking. When you get your recruit and your design all embedded down, your foundation is all set, then you're ready for scale. And like Ed has mentioned to me many, many times, you don't want to build a second or third story until you got your foundation right. Otherwise, everything's going to come crashing down. That was drilled into me. Now that we're onto the topic of scaling, there's also a very specific way that we go about approaching scale. Okay? And the aim of marketing is ultimately to reduce the need for selling. And you're going to hear a saying that we have over and over again, where we want to be building a garden that attracts the butterflies rather than relying on butterfly catchers, where you can make marketing and develop your marketing to a greater extent, to develop those marketing systems. The pressure that your client managers are going to have, and even yourself as an owner are going to have in selling and converting and attracting new clients, are going to become a lot easier. It's not entirely a scalable method to be hiring extraordinary, super charismatic, technical client managers and expect them to go out there and network and schmooze and attract leads and get amongst it. There are definitely people out there that can do that, but those people are quite extraordinary, okay? And they, of course, come with an extraordinary price tag associated with them. But where we can develop our marketing, where we can put our brand and our image out there into the world, ultimately the effect that we want to be able to have is when your potential clients or leads come to your website or they come to look at your resources or your materials, they get a sense that, oh, I'm at home. This firm is speaking exactly to my needs. And already the trust and the relationship building aspect has already begun. And hopefully by the time that these leads appear as an appointment calendar with your client managers wouldn't have to do such a hard job from going from 0 to 100 with actually having this lead convert into a client. So today, this is all on about marketing. If we can improve our marketing, this satisfies also building an extraordinary system so that we can hire ordinary people. Ed, starting with you, you have this analogy that is so ingrained in the Wize tribe about building a garden that attracts the butterflies and not being dependent on a butterfly catcher. Did you want to share with all of us about this? What do you mean by this? How does this play into our marketing division at all?
Yeah, thanks, Thomas, and welcome everyone. Just on that, I used to be the biggest butterfly catcher in my firm. I was getting 6, 7, 8 new clients a week just from referrals. I grew it at 30% average a year on year, but that became a problem because my business became people dependent on me, instead of being systems dependent, depending on the system of attracting new clients. And I needed to change that. Otherwise, I'd become a prisoner in my own business and I couldn't leave it. If I left it, then the growth stopped, and that was a problem. So I talked about building a garden that attracted the butterflies rather than being the butterfly catcher. And when you look at the way firms run, and not just in Australia, but right around the world, their business model for some of the firms often rely on the people within the organization. So you read sometimes that this firm's pinched that partner off that firm, and it's like a bit of a badge of honor because their growth model is dependent on butterfly catchers. So they try to recruit the best butterfly catcher to bring into the organization. But as I said, the problem with that is that that organization becomes very people dependent. And then when those people leave, that's the end of your growth model. So I think it's much better to invest the money into the systems or into your own garden because you own the garden, whereas you don't own people. And often firms who have a growth model that depends on the butterfly catcher is then they offer equity to retain those people, give half or a certain percentage of your business away, but that's their growth model. And I think that's problematic. I'd rather invest the money into building this garden, which you own and you own forever. So that's the principle behind building a garden that attracts butterflies. And of course, you've got to maintain that garden, and that requires a certain amount of investment each year. And often accountants see marketing as an expense, not an investment. It requires a certain change of mindset to approach approach this garden building, if you like, and it does require that change of mindset. Otherwise, for most accounting firms, they don't spend anything on marketing, which you need to snap out of and understand that any business needs a certain amount of investment. I call that investing in your balance sheet. So that's a general concept.